Well, hello and happy April Fool's Day, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And listen, it's no joke. We have an incredible show for you today. Lots of stories. We have 4 topics on tap. I think we can get to all 4. One is very heavy. Of course, we're going to get into what that topic is. And, obviously, like we have talked about on this show, we don't shy away from the heavy topics. I feel that the small voice that I do have in the community, I think it behooves me as a show runner to talk about situations that do have a heaviness to them. And the heaviness I'm talking about is the allegations that have come out of Undead Labs, Microsoft or Xbox Game Studios first party, regarding some really, really strong allegations of sexism, bullying, and burnout, folks. And this comes to us from Kotaku, of all places. Now, normally, I don't really like to talk about their work because I don't really trust them. And I think that they are very click-based, click-based, in my opinion. They have been for years. But this is one of those topics that, even though it is coming from them directly, we have to talk about it. But before we do, let's get into the introductions. I'm going to start first with Dreadpool. Dread, good morning, brother. How you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling great. Good morning, everyone. I've been awake for a while, so my energies are starting to mellow out. I'm on my 3rd cup of coffee. I've already had some cinnamon rolls that we cooked in the oven early this morning.
Nothing like fresh, hot cinnamon rolls with a cup of coffee.
They were so good.
Yeah.
It's
criminal.
I don't know.
It's criminal.
Should I talk about what we talked about earlier?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, go ahead.
All right,
Take
perfect.
it away.
I just want to make sure. I put a post out there today for UK Dazarus. He was one of the moderators in our community that was everywhere. And you got to remember, he's in the UK. So he would stay up all the way to like 3 a.m. moderating everybody.
Yeah.
Right. And past 3 a.m. Right. So this guy would go on with no sleep, taking care of the community, making sure everything was good. He has had a stroke.
About 2 years ago, I think it was.
Yeah,
right?
2 years ago. Yes. And he's been working on it, trying to, he's doing what he can. And unfortunately, his landlord is selling off the place, so he has to find a new place to go. So we put it. I'm looking for it to see where I posted it, but we're looking for if anybody wants to just share it out and help donate to help him find a new place. We all know that how difficult it is in our time right now. Even here, rents are going up.
Yep.
Prices of everything's going up. And he's one of our brothers, so we want to push it out there to notify and make you guys aware. Let's help out one of our family members.
Yep. That's good stuff, brother. And that's what it's all about. That's why I love this community, because when someone's down, we always see the hands there to pick each other up. And man, that's what you're supposed to do, especially just being a human being, but especially in a community where, Daz, or the Dazinator as he's known, has been a big part of for many, many years. Certainly a huge part of my entrance into content creation and this gaming community. So I've already retweeted it. Mrs. Boomstick and I will be donating this evening to the cause. And again, folks, we know it's tough. Groceries are expensive. Gas is expensive. And we know a lot of people don't have the spendable cash. You don't gotta put a whole $500 in there. But if you can drop, $5, $10, $20 in there, it'd be greatly appreciated. And every little bit obviously adds up. So I will add that to the show notes once we're done. And at the end of the show, we'll talk about it one more time. But Webb Dave, what's going on, brother? How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, man. Dude, it's so awesome to be here today. It's going to be super great show, and all these great guys on the panel, man. So honored to have interviewed all of them except for Dreadpool, which is coming up this weekend.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a good time. Good time. What? Dread's coming up, right?
Are you saving the best for last?
The best for last, indeed, he is. Absolutely. No doubt about that.
It is April 1st, right? Oh, sorry.
Holy matrimony.
Gonna be
He's
a
been
great show,
canceled.
guys.
I don't know. Dred's been
Burn.
canceled.
Love you,
I
Dred.
can't believe
Just
it.
kidding.
Well, anyway, listen, Fuzzy, what's up, brother? You saw you took a peek of the topics. I know that you've been very opinionated in recent shows, and we love that about you. And I'm expecting no less for today's program. How you been, brother?
Well, I've been awesome, and it's great to be here with you guys. Man, oh man, some pretty interesting news this past week, and yeah, I can't wait to get into it and hear your guys' thoughts on it as well.
Yeah,
So let's
you
get
know, it's
into
funny
it.
you say that because there were some things reported, and specifically, very suspiciously, I should say, things were left out. But we're going to get into what those left out things were. And all I'm going to say is it's so typical of the course that we have seen said place do numerous times, and we will get to that. Crispy Bomb, the best voice in the business, brother. How are you?
Oh, what's going on? Good morning, everyone.
Should I call you Detective Crispy Bomb for stopping that meat thief?
Yeah, that was funny. Dude, I just watch somebody and they're just randomly grabbing things. And you're like, yeah, there's something up here. And sure enough, he's darting for the door as I'm running up front. So I follow him all the way across my parking lot and into another parking lot with a Chili's in front. And he leaves the cart finally, like makes me walk all the way across the parking lot. He could have just left it there. And then he runs up to the road and vanishes. But yeah, it was an interesting day yesterday, and we got some fire topics, so let's get into it.
Well, you know what? Again, I'm glad you're okay, because obviously anytime you deal with stuff like that, desperation makes people do really, really bad things. And I'm not saying stealing is right, folks. Don't steal. It's wrong. It's there are laws for a reason. Regardless of your circumstance, stealing and hurting others is wrong. The fact that I have to say that is concerning, but I have faith in humanity, which is probably going to be my downfall. But let's move on to the big topic here. As reported yesterday, like I said in the opening, by Kotaku.com, allegations of sexism, bullying, and burnout inside Microsoft Studio behind State of Decay 3. And according to the report, this was Ethan Gotch who wrote it. It dropped yesterday at 11:35 a.m. Microsoft was aware of what was happening because they had Kotaku apparently had reached out to them for a statement. So what I want to do is last month, obviously, Phil Spencer was awarded a lifetime achievement at GDC, and that's a big deal. And on his acceptance speech, he said this: "Our responsibility is simple. Do everything possible to ensure that this entire industry is about treating every single person with dignity and respect." And obviously, he said this in front of a room of his peers, and we know for an absolute fact that Phil does, in fact, feel this way. He acts like this on a regular basis, and he does take the brunt of these kind of stories and puts it on his shoulders and does what a good leader does. And he also said in that statement, admitting that they haven't always risen to the challenge. He says this, folks: "We fall short when we fail to provide a safe and inclusive environment for every person who works in our industry. We fall short when we tolerate abuse. We fall short every single time someone feels unwelcome in our industry and our communities." And obviously, we've seen him. He leads by example, and I believe it. Okay, so in a Microsoft press release from PR, this is what they had to say regarding the Undead Labs accusations. "Every studio at Xbox is given the resources and guidance they need to grow in both capability and culture. What that support looks like will vary between each studio, but each has a direct connection to Microsoft human resources outside of what they have on their own teams, and the ability to work with other studios and partner teams to leverage their expertise. Additionally, all Microsoft employees, including our own studio teams, are required to regularly compete completes our standards of business conduct training, which covers topics like harassment, supplier code of conduct, and more. Over the last few years, Undead Labs has seen a number of positive changes, and we are confident in the direction the team is taking State of Decay 3, one of our most ambitious open world games in development. Now, Web Dave, I want to go to you immediately on this because you have an update to the story regarding newer interviews that were conducted with current employees of Undead Labs. Why don't you tell the incredible audience that we have in front of us what that is about?
Yeah, well, there's been a few, I guess, follow-ups to the release of this article. Several of the staff have been interviewed currently that are saying that the situation has greatly improved from where it was over a year ago, and that it definitely, did have problems, but that Microsoft is actually stepping up and making sure that things are getting done, and that's what I think needs to be, at least acknowledged, is that, they're doing something about it. Unlike, other studios like Sony, who says they're kind of like pushing things under the rug or wish these allegations would just go away. This stuff doesn't go away, folks. This stuff sticks with you. And if you step up as a company and you do the right thing, which Microsoft is doing now, because they had a reputation in the past of not being, the good guys, as it were, but they fixed that. And it's clear that they want to make sure, pushing forward, that they want to be, at the forefront of taking care of these issues, and that it is a good, safe environment. And it also that every person, male, female, doesn't matter, gender, race, doesn't matter, that they're going to get looked at for positions that they're qualified for in the future, and, and also encourage and training and growth to get to where they want to be in the industry. And that, I think, is something that we can't overlook, even though, yes, it is, at the time, it was a bad event that happened. And I believe the main perpetrator of this has moved on. So is no longer even with that particular team. So.
Yes, the head of the studio, and I will find his name momentarily, did step down. He has been removed. He's no longer with Microsoft. He is on his third entrepreneurship of his career. He did start Undead Labs. He worked there for many, many years. He helped build the studio. And obviously, with the situation that it was, I don't know if he decided to step down himself or this was something that was internal by Microsoft. That has not been answered. And again, that's a lot of internal stuff that we may never know unless Microsoft or he talks about it. But great update for that. Dreadpool, let's get your opinion on this, brother, because you've seen your fair share of shenanigans. You obviously you work for a big company. Hearing that this is happening, and also the update with new people, current employees saying, "Hey, listen, yeah, it was bad, but it has significantly gotten better." Does this prove that what Phil Spencer was saying is not only something he said, but actually done in practice?
Oh yeah, he's done this in practice. Did we forget about what happened with Mixer?
Yes,
There was issues back then, and he stepped up. And even when one of the guys had been removed since then, he had left and went somewhere else. He wasn't removed, but he removed himself from the situation, so he went somewhere else, and he had spoken up about it after the fact. And Phil said, "You know what? I still want you to talk to me about this. I still want to know more."
Yep.
So he's all about it. And that's the beauty of this stuff. It's when you're that big of a company and you actually put effort into fixing what is wrong and just take care of it, not highlighting it, because this seems like it's somebody's making an issue out of something like this. It's kind of like a hide the shell game, right? We don't like what's going on with PlayStation right now with their codes, or their Spartacus.
Right.
And so what do? We push something out negative to highlight something else, to forget about what's going on here. Let's bring something out, because as Dave said, it's been resolved. It's been taken care of.
Yeah. You know what? I want to elaborate on that for a hot second. Thank you for bringing that up, Dredd. Understand that the information that I'm reading to you directly from Kotaku, again, this is my opinion. It sounds like not only has it been resolved, but it's an older story that they ran with. Now, I can't confirm that because I didn't do these interviews. You understand? I don't work for Kotaku. I wouldn't anyway, but again, not saying that there's bias, not saying that they're trying to skew what's going on with the stupid PlayStation Plus. I don't think any of that. What I think is that they needed to run a story that people would click on. And right now, a hot issue in the industry, and deservedly so, is anything that says employees are not being treated correctly, or there is sexism or racism going on. And if any of that's going on in these companies, they need to be held to the fire and held to task, because that's unacceptable behavior, and I will not support that. I don't think anybody on this panel or in the chat would support that either. With that said, having Dave update the story the way he did, it does sound, and again, this is my opinion, folks, that maybe this is old news that they're trying to make new news, if you know what I mean. But by all means, continue, Dreadful.
Yeah, it's just like I said, it seems like allegedly, right? We got to say that way, allegedly. They are trying to cover up some other news that they're not happy with and highlight something else that seems to be old and resolved.
Doesn't quite fit their narrative today, does it?
Right. It seems like that, right? I'm not saying to hide the fact that there was bad press going or bad issues going on within Microsoft. And I've already said that before. It happens at every company. Every company, it's somewhere. People are human. There are idiots out there that somehow or other get in power and forget to act like a human being. So this happens everywhere. And it happens whether you're male, whether you're female, to a female. It doesn't matter. What was his name? I forgot his name now. But I mean, we'll move on from him. But he was a well-known actor. And even as with as muscular as he is, I forgot his name now. I can't remember why I forgot his name. He was Chris Rock's dad in Everybody Hates Chris.
Oh yeah, Terry Crews.
Terry Crews, thank you, Terry Crews. Even he had issues.
Yeah,
right. Someone like that you wouldn't think would have an issue like that. It happens everywhere. The problem is we need to have it so we can take care of it. Speak to somebody. And with Microsoft as big as they are, they don't have to go within their or within their developer. They can go to the bigger company. Thank you, Omar. Terry Crews. Fuzzy said it too earlier. But that's the thing is they have a door now, and this is something that, like I said, Phil had already addressed with Mixer and the stuff that was going on with Mixer. Not listening to certain people because of backgrounds or other issues. I just don't want to pinpoint a lot of things. I'm trying to keep it vague because it's stuff that's been taken care of.
Yeah, correct.
So,
again, I listen. I don't deny that it's important to know about this stuff, which is why we're talking about it. We're actually taking the first 30 minutes of the show to kind of get everyone's opinion on it, get it out there, discuss it, because these things need to be discussed. These things. This is 2022. This kind of behavior is unacceptable. I don't care what field you're in. I don't care whether you're a police officer, you're EMS, you work at Target, you work at Microsoft, or you work at Sony. This behavior is unacceptable. So if it is happening, we as men, as human beings with a voice, because we have voices. Maybe we don't have IGN level size voices, but we have voices nonetheless. And because we do, we owe it to being professional to talk about it. So by all means, continue, Dredd.
Yes, and I've already expressed this before. Months ago, I've had the same situation happen within my company where somebody else had nothing to do with anything, saw something, spoke up, and didn't go through the direct chain of command because it would have gotten to that person. So this person went to another individual within HR, to report what was going on. So, you know, when you see stuff like this, you got to speak up. You know what I mean? You got to keep each other in check. And if you don't, you know, if you see somebody sliding like that, you just let it happen and happen and happen. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And then we're going to have situations like this where someone's in power and they're going to be abusing people in one fashion or another. You know, like I said, we need to treat each other with dignity and respect, and push each other to do better the proper way.
100%. I mean, I couldn't have said it any better, brother. Great way to finish off your point. Fine work as always, Dread.
Thank you.
But Fuzzy, let's get your opinion on this, brother. I mean, again, we're not downplaying the story. The story is the story. There were these issues. It appears that the concerning party has been removed, whether it's self-removal or something a little bit above his head, like Phil Spencer saying, you know, you got to go, pal. You know, I mean, we don't know, right?
Yeah.
We might know one day, but for right now, we're just going to take it as he's not here. The problem is gone. Obviously, the culture doesn't change over the night. We're well aware of it. The same. Once this Activision Blizzard deal is done, you can understand that there's going to be incredibly massive changes at these studios that are under this publisher, because there are problems there. Well, maybe problems are still there, right? But we know that the people are going to be leaving that caused these problems. For this particular situation, I mean, do you kind of feel like everyone in the room that this might be an older story that they just had to run to get it out?
It may be an older story, but it is still important. And one of the big things of why it's important, as a lot of you are probably aware, the Activision deal is being held up by a few senators that are concerned about accountability.
Right.
And with the update that Web Dave brought up, it shows that a company like Microsoft is going to hold individuals accountable, whether they remove themselves or get removed, you know, quietly, you know, through a conference and some paperwork signed and, you know, a boot out the door type of deal. But whatever the case may be, there is going to be an example of where the company is going to work things out and get the matter resolved. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway. It's great that the story came out. It's not great that it happened, obviously, but it's great that the story came out in the sense that this shows that there are inner workings within that structure of Microsoft that will, you know, work through these occurrences and get them, you know, finalized or finished or resolved in a way where, you know, the employees feel safe. They feel like they have a voice and a place that they can go to, you know, express their concerns. So older story, I'm pretty sure, yeah, because to my understanding, because like even when you had the interview with Jeff Grubb, it was brought up about how, you know, Undead Labs was a little bit behind, even though this wasn't the forefront of the story, but that's something that's kind of been, you know, known behind the scenes for a couple of years now. So it's, you know, I understand Kotaku, they want to have something that's, you know, pertinent for the day, but with an older story, it still has some relevance. But it goes to show that, you know, Phil Spencer and a lot of the higher ups at Microsoft are going to, you know, walk the walk and talk the talk type of deal. So it's important that, you know, the employees, even though it may have been too late for a lot of the employees that may have left in the intern, but it goes to show that at least things are not swept under the rug. It at least goes to show that, you know, given the Activision situation, that, you know, we've already heard that some people were handed pink slips and Microsoft hadn't even taken over just yet. But a lot of times there's internal cleansing before your new ownership comes in type of deal. So it's understood, considering that Microsoft is one of the, you know, highly rated places to work as far as not just pay, but work environment and everything else. This is a big part of that as well. So it just goes to show that they're working on things like all companies need to.
You know, it's funny, you know, Crispy, I want to bring you in on the conversation, is to Fuzzy's excellent point. It does seem, even though it's right now, Microsoft will be sitting on 35 plus studios once this Activision deal is done, which is bonkers to think about. They're still a rather large publisher, right? They have a lot of teams. You know, it's Microsoft, but it's Xbox. Xbox is huge. It does appear that Phil Spencer, even though he has a lot on his plate, does have his pulse on what's going on in the community, because obviously we know that the guy is gone. And, you know, like we suggested earlier, we don't know whether that was, self-removal or not, but he's not there. And of course, thanks to Dave with the update, they recently, some new interviews came out and they're like, no, the culture has definitely gotten better. It did change. You know, it's not perfect, and I don't think any company is perfect, but the fact that they're aware that this is happening suggests that Phil and his team, because it's not just Phil Spencer, he has this massive team that works underneath him, that underneath him, that's the wrong word, works beside him to make the Xbox culture a place that you want to be at. So what are your thoughts on the story?
Very long article.
Yeah, it's a beefy, it is a beefy read for sure.
That underlying tells me they've been working on this for a long time, and it's almost like get it out, because they probably already had, you know, the update to it, and they didn't want to just throw it out there immediately. Because I don't know, it just sounds like it's like right at the beginning, you know, when the acquisition happened of Undead Labs. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the way it sounds to me. I did skim it because I was just like, dude, this thing is just too much. Like,
yeah,
it's I'll be honest with you, whoever wrote, I mean, dude, like you're going here and there and there. It's hard to follow when you're going and jumping all these different places. Okay. Yeah. So one paragraph's about this part, and then you're going to, I don't know. This is why I don't read their stuff generally, because I don't feel they have any validity at this point. You know, it's more or less, okay, let's put this out here, and then we're gonna have Sony has layoffs the next day. You know what I'm saying? So they can, you know, they can keep everybody, hey, we're playing on the same playing field. I mean, it's one of those things. We know what Microsoft's doing. They do have a hands-off approach, okay? But at this point, you know, now they're going to put their hands on, because, you know, they found these things out. You know, they got rid of the cancer inside, as we like to call it.
Right.
And you know, now they're looking at it and they're saying, okay, well, we're going to reestablish the culture. We're going to be more hands-on with you. And you saw at the beginning, they were saying, oh, we feared that they were going to be too hands-on with us and you know, destroy our culture. Well, maybe they want the exact opposite, and you're complaining about that. I mean, come on. It's one of those things, like, you know, now they're doing 100%. What they felt, you know what I mean? Like, so, yeah. You know, you're not going to go there and say, hey, Tim Schafer, we're going to tell you every single thing you should do. Right. You know, I mean, there's certain heads of studios that you don't have to do this with. They're already working on it. If there's a problem, they're going to nip it in the bud, because that's not the type of person, that's not the type of company they want to make. And that same goes for Microsoft. They do not want to look like this. So they were probably nipping it in the bud as soon as they found out. And that's why you're already seeing that update.
100%. And if you didn't know, folks, since the acquisition, which was announced at E3 2018, they were one of the 5 studios that were announced that they were acquired. The studio has doubled in size. That's confirmed. State of Decay 3 is underway. According to Clobriel, you know, good friend of the community, he put a post out there that there are adding parkour elements, and it is in fact the biggest open world game Microsoft has even admitted that Xbox has ever made. This is going to be a big game, big open world games. You know, the thing that Microsoft has going for them right now is they have so many games in development that if one falters because they're having development issues, they can delay it. I mean, we didn't have a release date. You know, we heard something similar with Fable, right? You know, that Playground Games was having some development difficulties because, well, you know, it's a massive open world they're making. Folks, it's okay to have difficulties. No one gets it right. Look what happened with God of War. Anyone ever watch Raising Kratos? Anyone hear how Cory Barlog, which is, you know, an incredible designer, right? I love Cory. I've had actually a conversation with him once or twice on Twitter. Guy's legit. He was told straight up by Shu, what you got here is garbage. Get back to work. God of War 2018, game of the year, God of War 2018, didn't start out at that. And like many development games that are being developed, these things happen. So Undead Labs is, they've doubled in size. This game is not going to be the same State of Decay that it's gonna look similar, I'm sure. It's gonna have elements, but it's a big open world that they're making, the biggest they've ever made. So I would say pump the brakes on close Undead Labs. I've seen some ridiculous takes online. Just people are ridiculous. But listen, the fact that Microsoft is aware of this, they were aware of this before the article was released. I didn't see any information from Kotaku saying that they are trying to get this article stopped. They did not do that. They're aware of the problem. The problem is being rectified as we speak. Thanks again to Dave with the update with how the culture has changed for the better. All we can do as content creators is when a situation comes out like this, we take the information that's been presented and we talk about it like grown adults. And we don't try to condemn anyone because obviously we're not there. We're not in the studio, so I don't have first account to give you, but I can go on what was reported. And what I like and what I've seen so far is that all the parties that are involved are aware of the situation and they're making changes to make that situation better. And that is what ultimately we want to see happen. I do want to move on, folks, to topic number 2. Now, this one isn't as big as it's the lead story on the thumbnail. We had some information come out. I think it was 2 days ago regarding the potential of Sony and Konami doing some sort of a deal. And this comes to us from someone on Twitter that I don't know who he is. Gavin Stevens at GTS_tweets. Now, if you read his bio, seems like a cool dude. I mean, I've heard his name before. I know he has broken some stories before, but I'm going to read you verbatim what he posted. And apparently he got a lot. And before I move forward with this, folks, listen. Opinions are like a-holes. Everyone has one, right? Apparently, he had to remove himself from social media because of some heinous things that were done. People send pictures of dead kids, and obviously he's a family guy. See, me, if that happens, now I'm walking. Now you forced me to walk. Now I'm carrying again. I don't carry now because why should I? But something like that would make me want to have to start carrying my firearm again. Don't do that. Don't write death threats because of your favorite box may not play a game. If you are, if you're that person, you're in the chat right now, I'm going to give you incredible police 101 advice. Go sit down with somebody and talk it out because you got something that's egging at you and you're going to do something that's going to ruin your life. Don't be these people that send death threats and all this other stuff online. Again, it's my it's my public service a message. It's the popo in me that comes out. But let me read you the tweets from Gavin Stevens that got everybody in an uproar. He says this. Okay, so it looks like today is Konami Day. Either that IPs are being bought or the entire studio, or just exclusive rights given to other devs. But today, it looks like we may be getting some info on a Sony X Konami deal. A shame. Those games deserve to be multi if true, and Sony just won't care. And he follows it up by saying this. This is from a few people I know messaging and chatting about it, plus a lot of rumbles. Adding stuff together myself. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But it looks like this may be the big news this week. I don't know if it's an acquisition, and to be honest, I wouldn't put money on that. So here we go. Personally, we have heard for years that Blue Point Studios, which is now PlayStation, SIE first party, was working on a Metal Gear reboot, Metal Gear Solid reboot. In my top 5 games of my entire 40 plus years in gaming, that is in the top 5. It's one of my favorite games of all time for a multitude of reasons. Me personally, folks, when I think of Metal Gear, I don't think of Xbox. I think of PlayStation. So if it were to go over to PlayStation, I would just play it on PlayStation. I wouldn't honestly care. I would say that if it did go over to PlayStation, rest assured, it's not going to be the flaming garbage that Konami released a couple of years ago, where you actually had to pay microtransactions for slots for your weapons. So we know that it would be done with class. It would be done like you would expect a PlayStation first party game to be done. So who would care? I mean, if you don't have a PlayStation, I could see why you would care, but that's the deal. So as of today, nothing has transpired from what Gavin had to say. Would it surprise me at all if Sony did a move like this, got Castlevania, locked up Silent Hill? Not at all, to be honest with you. And I think that based on the size and what they've been spending, it's probably one of the better moves that they could make. I don't see them buying Capcom. I don't see them buying Square Enix. I don't see them buying, the GTA makers, 2K games. So this would be kind of one of those moves that they would make that not only would make a bunch of sense, but would be good for gamers, because at least we know that these IPs would be handled with care. That's what I care about. Let's go to Fuzzy on this. Fuzzy, I mean, listen, again, this is coming from someone I don't know who he is. I know that he has a presence on social media. As of today, we have not heard anything. Would it be that terrible to see Metal Gear Solid, Castlevania, and Silent Hill potentially become SIE PlayStation first party?
I wouldn't say it would be terrible, but it's kind of one of those things where we heard about, what is it? Fire Sprite is working on a horror game.
Correct. Yes.
So
using
there
Unreal
is that
Engine 5, no
potential.
less.
Yeah, so there is that potential. I could totally see Sony reaching out to Konami for some of their IPs, because I think they kind of broadcasted before that they would be open to, licensing their some of their IPs. I think this was like last year sometime, so I wouldn't be surprised at it. Would it be terrible? No. I mean, yeah, for those that, if you're only able to have one of the consoles, then yeah, and you're big into Metal Gear or into Silent Hill, yeah, I could totally see, if you don't have a PlayStation, the repercussions in that. But it's almost like there's no true Sony insiders out there. So I always try to take it with a grain of salt, and we're so close to like the April 1st time frame, even though
what's funny? It's fun. You know what's funny, Fuzzy? I had gotten a DM from a very good friend of mine, someone I consider to be like family. And he had specifically, and it is a he, but I will not, to give you up my source, because I don't do that. He specifically asked me, how would I feel? Because he knows how much of a Metal Gear fan I am, if Sony were to lock up Metal Gear as an exclusive IP. And I would say I'll throw the confetti, because at least I know I'm going to get a quality Metal Gear Solid, one of my favorite games of all time. I wouldn't care. I have all the systems. Yeah. And again, bring back to your point, if you don't, I can see the disappointment. But at the same time, you just have to look on the other side and say, well, all the Bethesda games, if you are a PlayStation fan, you're not getting those unless you buy a console. So please continue, Fuzzy.
No, but I think there's definitely something to Sony and Konami IPs. Whether Fire Sprite's picking one of a handful of them, whether it's Blue Point, they'll be picking one of a handful of them. But I totally see Konami trying to not necessarily cash out by, either being acquired or anything like that, but just licensing their IPs, seeing how well they do. They kind of look at what Capcom did with some of the remasters or reboots and things like that, and it definitely helped their bottom line. So Konami not having, I guess, the the development power at this point in time to do so.
Yeah, they have gyms and pachinko machines, and they're far removed from where they used to be back in like the Super NES days and stuff.
Oh yeah, so I wouldn't be terribly upset, but I can totally see a good portion of the gaming fan base not being happy with Sony, because they tend not to like the person said, they don't care. They'll just lock it to their ecosystem, and that's it, type of thing. But yeah, we'll see. I was kind of expecting some sort of announcement yesterday, but who knows?
Yeah, it never appeared. And if you see it today, folks, just be careful. It's April Fools, and there's going to be some really wild ones out there. You might see Microsoft has acquired the world. I mean, it's possible, but don't believe that. Don't believe that. Regulators say it's okay for Microsoft to own the world. Go crazy. I don't know. Listen, Crispy Bomb, let's get your opinion on this, brother. Listen, I don't know where you sit with Metal Gear. For me, it's one of my favorite PlayStation memories because I imported it. I've told the story a couple of times. If you're familiar with New York and Yonkers specifically, there used to be a comic shop called Dragon's Den many moons ago when I worked at Funko Land. We E3 was a thing back then, and the owner, Gary, man, he was one heck of a businessman, and not the best ways either. He went to E3 because he was a store owner. He got invited back then, and he recorded Metal Gear Solid when it was shown off for the first time. I don't even remember what year that was, and he was selling the videotapes for like $30, right? So me and my brother put our money together, my brother Neo Mental, and we watched the E3 tape that he made. It was on a camcorder. It wasn't great quality, but for me as a gamer, and it's been gaming since it started out, folks, in Sticks and Dots. They had a scene where they showed Meryl and Snake back to back, and they're firing the guns, and the bullets are hitting the floor. I'm getting goosebumps. You can't see it. And we watched that tape so many times, we wore it out. And that's why Metal Gear means so much to me, because that was like one of the defining moments. Like, oh my God, are you kidding me? This is like a movie. And that's why I listen. If Sony does get it, and again, we don't know for sure. This is just Rumorville 101. I would be okay with it, only because we know that they're going to release a quality product. But please continue, Crispy.
Well, I look at it this way. Not my jam. Maybe I remember renting it. It was probably like much later than its release, and I was just like, oh, I've played better games than this. Me personally, it doesn't affect me. At the same time, I mean, those IPs are just sitting there dying at this point. Konami's doing nothing really with any video gaming anymore. I say go for it. I mean, it's really like it's synonymous with PlayStation. Why not have those IPs there? The one question I have is it's very interesting if this does come out, later today or next week. It's the end of the fiscal year for them. It's kind of, ass backwards the way you do it. Usually you do it at the beginning or the middle of your fiscal year. So then it builds up more revenue. So I don't know. It would sound like if they're going to do that, they're trying to have a jump on their stock price at the end of the fiscal year for some reason. Which, I mean, whatever they want to do, it doesn't seem normal to me. So we'll see. I mean, hopefully nobody gets duped on an April Fool's joke, but it's one of those things. Like at the end of the day, it's better than it just sitting there doing nothing. That's the way I look at it.
I absolutely agree. Real quick, got to shout out Aaron JF94 with the first super chat of the day. Thank you, Aaron. Definitely appreciate that. He drops a $2 super chat and says, God of War now 2023. I don't know if that I've been banging that drum for months. I'm telling you, it's 2023. I don't know if it's confirmed or not. Be careful today, because you got to navigate these April Fool's waters. A couple of years ago, I don't remember who did it. I'm obviously Titanfall, one of my favorite IPs, like literally of all time. They had did an Optimus Prime skin and I was like, "Oh my god, what is happening?" And then I realized it was April Fool's, and I was like this, devastated. So don't be careful. Be careful because the shenanigans is going to be is going to be running wild like Hulk Hogan. Dreadpool, let's get your opinion on this. Is it a big deal if Sony were to lock up these 3 monster IPs in Castlevania? Obviously, that's a big one. Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hill.
April Fools. No, well, it's funny though. I did notice that April Fool's jokes were dropping all over Twitter yesterday. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. It could be one of those, but let's be realistic. If this were to happen, Metal Gear to me, I always think of Nintendo first, and then I think of Sony.
Yeah,
but in today's age, Sony would seem like they would be the ones to have PlayStation have it only. Do we remember Night Trap? It was only
Yes.
on Sony PlayStation, and it came out on Nintendo, but not Xbox. Why?
Yep.
Because Sony funded it,
Yeah.
right? So if they do that, they can. If they fund it, they can do it again. Do we really want to see the last, if we dare call it, Metal Gear game? I don't even call it that. It just had the name. That's it. It wasn't Metal Gear. It just had the name. Those robot zombie whatever heads they
It
were.
was dude. It was
That was
it was
horrible.
terrible.
That wasn't Metal Gear. I'm
awful.
sorry. I don't care what you say. And the pricing that they did, that was extortion. You know what I mean? So if you wanted to play this and you want to have those saves, you were getting. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. But let's look at it, right? So it would make sense that Sony would take that. Now, Castlevania, that's a big get if they were
That
to
is a
do
big
that
get,
too.
yeah.
And it, we got to remember, this does not seem out of the Sony's wheelhouse or PlayStation's wheelhouse to lock it down to keep it away from other places. Granted, they may let Nintendo have a crack at it too. But I think overall, if it is possible, or if it is possible, how about that, right? It is possible that that could happen that way. That's the way I see it. I don't see them just pushing that out there and then going, oh yeah, well we'll allow that, with our money, we'll allow that to go over to Xbox like we were forced to with Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
So, but that I don't care. I love the game, but it wasn't. I've been losing interest in Metal Gear as we've gotten older. I don't know what it was with that. I don't know. It's just, I think it lost its essence as it went. And this is not even including the last, whatever you want to call it, game that they put out that's not Metal Gear.
Yeah, no, you make a lot of sense.
I think they lost that essence that they had back then. It was great. The cinematics were unbelievable. And could you imagine what they would do now with the technology? We've seen what God of War looks like.
Yeah.
And we know what the new God of War is going to look like. We have, obviously ideas. We've seen certain renders. We've seen certain information that's out there to know what we're going to deal with. So if they take it, I'm not too concerned. I think with them backing it money-wise, I think it'll turn out to be a good game. And it just, like I said, it just makes sense. Some of the stuff just makes sense. And
Yeah,
Castlevania,
that's definitely one of those moves that does. Again, you can argue back and forth. Where does Castlevania fall for you? Well, if you're an old school cat and you think the NES or even like the Game Boy Color for that matter, because obviously that was where a lot of us played. But I look back to Symphony of the Night for PlayStation. That's a classic right there. So I mean, look, again, just be careful navigating the waters today. It has not been announced. This guy Gavin Stevens put it out there. It's not the first time I've heard it either. And I did get a DM from someone that asked me that specific question: how would I feel? Like, I could care less because I played on PlayStation. But Let's get Dave's final opinion on this, and we'll move on to topic number 3. Dave, I mean, where does your love for Metal Gear fall? I mean, obviously the IP has fallen on hard times. Let's just say that, and absolutely deserves a proper reboot of the original. I think Sony could do it justice, more specifically Blue Point Studios, which they own. What are your thoughts on that?
I definitely think it shouldn't be left for dead, as it were. I think it
I
definitely
like what you
should
did
be.
there.
I think it should definitely be, brought back. Whether this is actually going to happen or not, I don't know. I mean, even his tweets or his statements were, he clearly left himself if this is true, if this is going to happen, it may not happen. He left himself a lot of wiggle room, which is understandable. But April Fools, maybe. Would I like it to happen? Yes. Am I okay with Sony has it? I'm cool with that. Sony, can do great games, obviously, or they wouldn't be where they're at now. And like you said, I play it on my PlayStation 5. I brought the HD remasters on the Xbox of the early games because they're great, and it was just I wanted to have them where I could just play them on my Xbox. But I own all the systems. Now, is it is it possible? Yes. Can it happen? Absolutely. I would love for them to do that. I don't necessarily know that they would buy them out or if the Capcom would sell the the franchises. I think they would lease, loan, whatever you want to call it, give them the ability to make games for sure. But I don't necessarily know that, because even their pachinko machines with those IPs make them some good monies, but I don't. And as far as April Fools, I clearly there's some information going right now that I think Sony has bought Steam and they are renaming the Steam Deck the Vita 2, but that strictly could be April Fool's joke. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Look, again, we'll know the same way Microsoft isn't done acquiring studios to further move the needle on games being added to their service, Xbox Game Pass. I would imagine that Sony, even though they may not be able financially to do as big as moves as like a Microsoft, because obviously they're both very rich companies, but obviously Microsoft is a $2.5 trillion company, and they obviously have more room to maneuver than Sony. This seems very Sony-esque. It's a smaller move. It would be considered a smaller move, but a big move in my personal opinion, especially because of the weight that those three IPs carry. And I think that the gaming world, would be better for it because you're going to get quality games, and all three of these games, they just the IPs have not had great games recently. So if we do see Sony pick them up, I think it's for the betterment of the gamers. Again, if you don't have a PlayStation 5, I understand the potential frustration, but in reality, we're actually potentially going to get really good remakes of these games, and they're going to be done right. Unlike what Konami has done in recent years, it hasn't been good. So I would like to see a new owner. Now, if you ask me who would I rather see own these, of course I'd tell you Xbox, right? Because I'm an Xbox dude, but I'm not going to not play one of my favorite IPs if Blue Point is actually doing the remake, which I've heard for years. But folks, got to get onto a topic that a lot of people have DMing me and asking me to talk about. And that's something that comes the way of Jez Corden of Windows Central. It was announced yesterday that Microsoft is finally adding a family plan to Xbox Game Pass. This is a big deal, folks. Up to 5 family members can be added to this new program. It has not launched as of yet. It will launch shortly. I believe I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't release in the next couple of months. Good friend of this program, friend of the community, Kay Asante, who has his Gaming Circle podcast at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturday mornings. If you're not tuned into that, man, you're doing it wrong. He actually was welcomed into a live chat where he got a chance to ask the question to Aaron Greenberg, friend of the community, as well as the head of Bethesda, not God Howard. Oh my God, why am I? Pete Hines. Pete Hines and Aaron Greenberg were taking questions, and he specifically asked, "Hey, when is a family plan coming?" And I believe that was last year. It was during one of their big events. And they said, yeah, it's on the way. We're working on it. So we knew back then last year that it was coming. Well, now we have confirmation that it is going to be a thing. And I'm happy for it, because obviously my nephew Tyler, who has just been introduced, got his first Xbox ever, his first gamer tag ever. Makes me very proud as a Theo, which is uncle for Spanish. And I'm going to add him, because obviously he's here all the time. He's my family, so he is part of the. I'll be able to take advantage of the family plan. Crispy, for you, you always, in DMs and publicly talk about how Game Pass for you personally is an incredible value. Right. And, obviously, you put a tweet out that I retweeted about gas being expensive, groceries being twice what they were. I mean, I just did a food shopping and it was $150 and I didn't even fill up the wagon. You know what I'm saying? So everyone is feeling the pinch. 40. If you didn't know, folks, and I'm no financial expert, but I saw a report yesterday that cost of living, folks, has gone up 40%. 40%. That's ridiculous. That's unbelievable. So a service like Xbox Game Pass is a saving grace, especially for a guy like me. I'm retired. Like, I used to work for overtime for games. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's what I did. I'm retired now, right? I'm a retired New York City police officer. Everyone knows that. And you have to, buy games that fall into your budget. Well, Game Pass, for me, as a retired guy with a fixed income, it's awesome, right? Where do you fall on the family plan finally coming to Xbox Game Pass?
Oh, isn't it nice to see a company say, hey, we're going to give you a deal? How about that?
We're going to get to that in a second, but please continue.
It's one of those things. It's like, okay, like, I'm sure you could find 5 people, because, they say family play, you could, it's just like, I use, like streaming services like Hulu and stuff that I don't own. And, it's one of my girlfriend's family members that has it and we share it. I mean, it's pretty simple. One person pays and then they use our Netflix or whatever. And it's kind of just equals out that way. Well, I'm sure you could find 5 people, and you don't necessarily have to have 5 people, but I mean, I'm thinking it's probably going to be like $40, I would think.
It's funny. I thought maybe, in the 30 range, maybe if they added, because $40, I mean, right now, and I guess $40 wouldn't be so bad, because you can have up to 5 people plus yourself. Right now, $15 a month, right? I think a family plan, they could raise it to 25, 30, maybe. That sounds.
I mean, that would be a better deal. I mean, we're all for deals here.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? This is why I put out that tweet, because to defend stuff that is illogical, to look at another service and say, oh, well, they're not the same, they're not competitors, dude. I guess they're not, because at this point, Xbox is just like, here's some more value. Here you go. You got it, like I said, the UB Plus. I mean, what if that comes in there? What if that's part of the family plan? You don't know what they're gonna do. They got all kinds of stuff up their sleeve, and it's one of those things is now they're like, okay, we're just gonna quietly show that we have value compared to the competition. And it just makes sense. So, we did kind of hear about it, almost a year ago, if not longer. And, now Jez, he must have got the exclusive scoop that say, hey, go for it. Let's run this story. And now it's basically, it's got to be right around the corner if they're starting to talk about it. So I'm looking forward to see what they're going to do. And I think if it's 30, I mean, that's crazy value. That's, you know what I mean? If you really think that's the price of 2 Game Pass Ultimate subscriptions. I mean, think about that. So you could have 3 other people that are essentially free in your eyes. You know what I mean? So it's awesome to see that, in these times, like, there is something there that, says, hey, we're not trying to take all your money. We're trying to give you a little something here because, life's pretty hard right now. $60, $70 to fill my gas tank when it used to be 30 like a year ago hurts pretty bad. I'm sorry.
I literally filled up, right? I think I had a quarter of a tank this morning before the show because, I take Mrs. Boomstick in and, I'm doing some errands before the show goes live. $58, bro, for 3/4 of a tank filled up. $58. And here's the crazy thing. We have, I don't know, in your area, we have Stop and Shop here. It's one of my favorite places to shop. I love their pricing. Well, they have a deal. They have like these gas points, right? That you build up. I had 50 cents off a gallon, folks, because of Stop and Shop, and I still spent $58. Just think about that for a second. I don't got a tractor trailer. I got a freaking 2016 Kia.
I thought you had a vet.
It's a V6.
I filled up with 100 this morning.
Yikes. You know what, Dreadpool? Let's bring you in on the conversation. This is big news. This is big news because this comes on the heels, and this is where I kind of start to really, tip my cap to Xbox social media, because this is being a little snarky, and I love it. I love it because obviously the last topic of the show is the controversy surrounding, the new PlayStation Plus garbage service that they're charging, and that doesn't have a family plan. I barely call that a plan. I basically it's clobbering the fan base is what it's doing, but we'll get to that in a second. How do you feel about Microsoft dropping this news in the same week that we got bad news from Sony?
I feel like April Fools. No, I'm kidding. No, it's just like finally it's making a return. You know what I mean? They had it before in the 360 era, and they somehow it just didn't. Whatever they did, they didn't. Because I didn't need it, so I don't know much about it. I know my buddy had it. But yeah, I've been hearing $30 to $40 is what they're going with. But that's all hearsay. None of it's all speculation town, right? So for 5 people, now I got a question yet again. Is it going to be like Netflix where you don't have to be in the same household? Can I get my brother all the way over in Seattle? Or does it have to be for the 5 consoles I have in my house? Granted, I don't have 5 consoles in my house.
Jez said in his article, or that it was in the same country.
Yes, that was same country. Yeah. It's great save right there, because I was actually just about to say that.
I missed that. Okay, but either way,
that's cool.
So that's good. So unfortunately, I can't share with my Canadian brothers or my Mexican brothers down south, or even my Brazilian brothers even further south. So unfortunately. But at least in the continental U.S., obviously they're going to roll it out in the continental and then kind of gradually open up to other areas.
Yeah.
As they've done with Game Pass. Yeah, they just opened up some more areas for Game Pass to be in. So that's good news too. But yeah, it's. I mean, think about it. If you're already spending. How many times we helped out family members? It's like the husband and wife have their accounts, and then their kids have their own accounts. And it's like, okay, you log in there, and then you use that other Xbox over there, and then you have your wife log in this one, and then she uses this other Xbox, and then both your kids can share, can go on either one.
It gets a little confusing.
It does. Because people are like, how do I do it? And it's like, it's very simplistic. It's not that hard, but I understand how it can get confusing. So when you look at it like that, you're like, okay, how about five family members for this price? So if you're already paying double, right? If you're already doing 15, it's already at 30. And that's why I think 30 would be more of a reasonable number. Just logistically thinking about it, right? 30 would be more of a reasonable number, and you get a +1. right? So that's where your 5 is. That would make sense and entice people to do a family plan like that a little bit easier than saying 40, because you're really getting railroaded with that extra person that you're not paying for when you're, you know what I mean? That difference isn't there. And then on top of that, as far as I recall, they're not entirely sure if it includes all 3: console, PC, and Ultimate. So
again,
there's still information we're waiting on.
Once the official rollout, or you get the blog post from somebody that runs Game Pass, I would imagine that the cat's out of the bag. So Microsoft is probably is putting a press release together now. I wouldn't be surprised if we come Monday, here's all the details.
Could that have been last year's Fubaco, where they doubled up the price when they did that, and it was supposed to be for the family plan, and someone just
I actually think
just
that was
questioning.
Yeah, no. I mean, you make a lot of sense. But I think that was just a big mess up. That somehow got through, and thankfully, Microsoft was able to pivot correctly, and within 24 hours fix that heinous potential problem. But
I thought Donnie D came back or something.
No, Donnie D's gone. We're gonna keep Donnie D out of here. Let's get Fuzzy's opinion on this. Fuzzy, obviously, one of the biggest things in gaming that anyone has talked about, what seems like for the course of the last couple of years, has been Xbox Game Pass, and for good reason, right? Mm-hmm. It is the best deal in gaming. Microsoft does put the customer in front. Obviously, Weird West was just added yesterday. That's a top-down type of game. Looks really, really good. I'm downloading it as we speak. Next week, we have MLB The Show releasing, a Sony first-party game releasing on Xbox Game Pass. Again, it's laughable because it's not releasing on Sony's service that it doesn't release until June, but Xbox Game Pass is getting it. It is quite something to laugh at. Well, I mean, what are your thoughts on the family plan that Jez announced yesterday?
Big sigh of relief. Like, you have to understand, I have 2 twin boys. Each one of them has their own Xbox. Each one of them has their own gaming PC. Each one has their own smartphone, and they, sometimes we use xCloud on it. And we were paying $45 a month for 3 basic, Game Pass Ultimate accounts. Now, bear in mind, I'm pretty good as far as getting my Microsoft rewards points. My boys they're not as, I guess, enthusiastic to save a penny, considering dear old dad's footing most of the bill. But when it starts eating into their allowance money, they'll definitely cop up some points if they can. But man, this family plan couldn't come at a better time. Like,
it does hit at a time where money, even $10 or $15, may not seem like a lot to you, but it might be may be a lot for somebody.
Well, the big thing is, like, you have Netflix raising their price. We have this family plan that's going to save some money in my household. Fuel prices are going up. Luckily, I don't have to drive as much being retired, but I still got to, get the boys to school, because apparently their school bus can't get them to school on time, which that's a whole nother story. But no, this family plan in general, it's an awesome idea that I've been on social media, asking about or hinting to. Hey, it would be awesome if you guys could do it, because, game share works great if you're just worrying about 2 consoles. And with a little extra work, you can kind of maneuver like Game Pass on PC with multiple accounts, like either have them use the same computer, or I'd have to log in and then log out, or have them logged in at the same time. So without having to do all those jumping through hoops, just have a plan where, all right, it's less than 45, which I'm hoping, fingers crossed. If it's 30, oh my God, I mean,
I actually could see it being 30, dude. I can see being 30, 35, maybe 34.95 to throw a nickel off to make it seem like it's a better deal than 35. But
my logic,
anything less than 40 would be great. Yeah, you want to say something on Dread?
I was saying my logic fits.
Yeah, it does. No, 100%. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I tell you, it's. I know a lot of their friends are like, you guys are crazy. You guys have gaming computers, and Xbox and stuff. And it's like now having that family plan, it'll just make it that much easier, and maybe it'll help their friends convince their parents to do the same, because there are a few parents out there that are into gaming, nowhere near as much as my household is probably, but it definitely could help move them in that direction, I would say, because there's a couple of their friends, there are like two boys in the house, or a couple boys and girls in the house, and they're all into gaming, whether it be on PC or console as well. So for those that were like, all right, we have the one console, we have the one PC, and it's like you have to take turns, make sure your homework's done and all that.
Right.
Now it'll be a little bit easier time, and then when the parents come home from work, they can kick back, relax, or they can all have like what we try and do on occasion is like have a family game night or something, where it's like, all right, everybody grab a controller and
that's cool.
hop on the, whether it's not Rumble Beast, what the heck is that fighting game?
Gang Beasts.
Gang Beast, yeah. So it's like family game night. This is like the perfect thing for that. So I can't wait until they make the official announcement.
Yes.
But man, oh man, it's long time coming. So happy it's now becoming more of a reality.
Yeah, no, 100%. Real quick, let me catch up with some of the super chats. Thanks to the gentleman on the panel. Mr. Joanna Dark drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I would love to see Metal Gear come back onto PlayStation or Xbox. Konami is just sitting on these IPs. Dark Souls like Castlevania, anyone? Oh my God, that is great. I love that. Rain G4, generous friend of the program. What's up, Rain? How you feeling, brother? He drops a $5 super chat and says, did Microsoft did Microsoft try a family plan Xbox One drop back in 2013? I believe that they did, to be honest with you. Risk it for the biscuit, our good UK brother. He drops a $3 super chat and says, I love to see a cheaper year sub for Game Pass. You guys, yeah. I mean, I would like to pay for the year, to be honest with you. And I think, again, we could see some changes coming. The family plan is a big deal. Hey, BitCloud, brother, I just saw you jump into the show. What's up, dude? How are you?
Yeah, sure. I'm late. I literally just woke up.
Nah, listen, it's okay, brother. But you're coming in at a perfect time, because we're going to be talking about some statistics that have come out regarding. I missed your show. Or your. I have to catch up. I have to catch up on a lot of shows. It's been a busy week regarding the pricing for a PlayStation Plus. We'll get your opinion on that momentarily. But yeah, listen, Dave. Let's get your opinion on this, brother. What do you think about the announced family plan that came the way of Jez Corden of Windows Central yesterday?
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Like I said, obviously there's going to be some more details come out. Maybe they were planning on dropping this, around the summertime, announcements, whether it be well, not E3 now, but being the game show, not game show, but the oh my God, what is his name? Summer Game Fest. Maybe something like that they were going to drop it, but Jeff Keighley, there we go, true blank. But that's a possibility of when they're gonna give us more details, or maybe sooner, now that the cat's out of the bag. I think that a family plan would be fantastic. 5 people, that's awesome. $30 would be a great price point. Maybe I would even be willing to pay more if it was if there was like a different tier, like a family game plan ultimate. I think that would be cool.
Right.
It would definitely be worth a little more to me, maybe not to everybody, or hopefully it'll be $30 and have the whole everything. That would be fantastic. But it's definitely something that's needed. I'll also agree too, it'd be nice to have that a yearly, like if you go ahead and pay a year in advance, you get a little bit of a discount by doing that. That also would be very helpful to a lot of people. I've definitely got, I know like the family plan is going to have like 5 people according to what we know. And I'm thinking, boom, you're like family to me. And I know if you need, somebody to help out in your plan, and I'm just kidding, but we family, right? Boom, right? Just kidding. But yeah, I definitely think that a family plan would be definitely a way to go. It's going to get more people in. It's going to be more accessible, and that's and to combat the price comparisons that we're getting now from PlayStation's service, I think, is definitely the right time for them to unveil this. And,
it was dry. I mean, again, this comes to us. This is not an official post from Microsoft. It comes to us from Windows Central. Jez did scoop this. It is a big deal. It is a big deal. It does happen to come at a time where PlayStation is a bit under fire for their pricing scheme. Like I said, we talked about it multiple times on this show. I am not a fan of the PlayStation Plus being $3 more than Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, and does not include day-and-date games. I've already made that perfectly clear. I think it's a miss, in my opinion, for old games that Jim Ryan said a couple years ago. Who plays old games? If anyone remembers that, I remember that, Jim. And I know things change. But I still.
I say, yeah. you really want to hold out on hope. He changes. He likes to experiment. So
yeah. So it is what it is. But good stuff, Dave, as always. And obviously, you have family as well. This would be a big deal for me. So at least my nephew Tyler, I would just pay for it, because obviously he has his own Xbox, and why have a 13-year-old pay for Game Pass? I'll pay for it. So his parents don't have to worry about it. And if it's a couple of bucks more, then it's a win for everybody. And in a time where money is becoming more incredibly harder to put away, this would be a big savings for sure. But let's get your opinion on this. The announcement of the family plan from Jez Corden yesterday, and more importantly, the timing of this announcement seems very auspicious for sure. That this again, this comes on the heels of the PlayStation Plus that was riddled with controversy, and for good reason. I don't think it's a great deal. I mean, like I said, I've always defended PlayStation, where I feel they use their classic IPs to their advantage. They respect where they came from, so we constantly see older games being brought into the fray of new releases, and I like that. I really do enjoy that about PlayStation. But trying to charge again, this is if you're paying monthly rather than the whole year for $120. I still feel it's like they're not reading the room correctly in regards to the financial crisis that many people are under. What are your thoughts on both situations?
Well, obviously, I don't think this is a coincidence. I think they always kind of were just waiting for this reveal so they can just do this. As far as it being true, I do believe it being the case, and they are going to show this off, and it's good. It puts pressure on Sony to add better tiers, or should I say better value to what you're going to get here. $120 a year. I did a video on it yesterday. I'm like, $120 a year. Those games, those monthly games you get every so for the PlayStation, they got to be amazing every single time. It can't be no
to be fair, to be fair, and this is not taking anyone's side.
Yeah,
Sony's games are normally considerably better.
True, but
than what Xbox.
But you know
Gold
how we have those games, those months, right? We'll have good month,
then terrible
month, terrible month. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. They need to be good all around. It can't be no awkward like fresh, especially for $120 a year. If you're asking for that premium, that you think it's the whole package is worth type of thing. And as far as like what you're getting out the games, I even said this too. I'm like, I already been expressed my displeasure of having to pay $70 for a game that we've already played last generation, and them just putting the title Definitive Edition or Director's Cut on the cover, and people go, "Oh, that's it. It's amazing. It's new." It's not new. It's the same thing. It's the same assets. They're just adding upon assets. That's really
it's funny you say that. I'm glad you brought that up, because I do have another question I want to pose to you. Yeah. For me, one of the biggest kerfluffles, if you will, with Sony releasing these games is charging that $10 extra for a PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 upgrade. And where I feel that this is a big miss is they could have easily said, "Hey, listen, when you sign up for the ultimate package, those PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 games that we charge you $10, now it's a free upgrade." Like that's one of the things I feel is a miss.
See, that's really another one. It's like, there's no real like. I mean, granted, they did say more was going to be announced, sure, but you would think stuff like that would be like the main thing they announced. Hey, we'll charge you $10 extra, but guess what? With this, you don't have to get this. You have this instantly. You'll get instant passes to this. Okay, cool. That'd been a better, an idea. But again, it's like, it kind of feels like PlayStation Network. Remember at the beginning of PlayStation Network, they winged it. They didn't have really a plan for it whatsoever, and they added upon it slowly but surely. Like it had like the trophy support, stuff like that. Later, it had, they had to literally wait till they got back online to incorporate a better security measures for the actual network as it is. You know what I'm saying? They don't really think a lot of stuff through when it comes to the overall, I guess, mindset for this type of thing. And granted, if this would have came out right around the time Game Pass first got announced, I don't think nobody would complain. But now Game Pass is at that point where it's gotten not only your day and dates, it's got some of the biggest publishers that are on board with this, and they're now owned by Microsoft. So it's like, once those games start dropping for the Xbox, it's going to be like, well, again, what are you offering me here? And this is why I pose that maybe, you'll have to wait 6 months now for games to drop on this particular service with Sony. They did say PS5 and 4 games would be added. And I don't know if you remember that, like, I forgot what it's called, but when you get your PS5 and you have like that little list on the side, I call it the greatest hits collection.
Yes, 20 games. And
20 games.
They're excellent games. Dude.
I think they're going to add on to that, but they might hide that behind the higher paywall. They'll add on to those, and they'll just add those games in there. So every 6 months, you'll see the games that already kind of dropped, kind of like drop into that service. Then when they get to that year, maybe they'll drop the PC. I think that's probably how they're going to go about it. But who knows, though? It's hard to really say how they're going to go about it, because they did say PC in the title, right? So it's like, or in the description. So it might be 6 months for both platforms there, and that's going to be their caveat to get them in there. But as far as what they're offering, it's like, I'm not really like jumping over the moon. And again, I can't really like compare it because I haven't seen what's offered in the new yet. You see what I'm saying? But it's not like, oh my God, I'm over the moon for what I was just shown, and I get it. People want day and date. People want more out of the service. And hopefully if this does happen, this does put pressure on them to step it up. But right now, it's like Microsoft gave you so much more for the bare minimum at the start. Like, for example, even the backwards and pack games. I remember somebody tried to argue with me yesterday in my comment section. They was like, well, PlayStation now gives you PS2 and 1 games. I'm like, yes, they do. And you can download them, sure. But some of the greatest hits on the PlayStation are on the PlayStation 3. Nobody's looking to stream PlayStation 3 games for $120 a year. They want the option to download them. They will love the option to get trophy support on all these games. See what I'm saying? The thing Sony's missing out on this particular service, and Microsoft nailed this, it's nostalgia.
Yes.
Nostalgia is the main source of pushing this service. And Sony's the kings of nostalgia at this point, or it's one of the kings of nostalgia. And people have been asking for revivals. People have been asking for sequels. Can you imagine SOCOM, the original, working on your PS5?
It's funny you say that, because there are two games that I can't believe have not been talked about. Maybe maybe we'll get a confirmation during the Summer Games Fest, but SOCOM definitely one of them. Yeah. And it covers two things for Sony. One, it's games as a service, right? That's what they're working with. And two, anyone that played on PlayStation played SOCOM. That would be a big multiplayer game. People have been calling for multiplayer, right? And the other one, when you and I have been talking about this, we think it's coming soon, and that's Resistance. Where's Resistance already, man? Come on, man.
Exactly. I mean, again, I feel everybody's paying. They want day and date. They want a real incentive to buy this. I keep saying that's what I said with the whole $70 price tag, the magnifying glass theory, and it gets proven every single day. Every time when a game is either on discount on this side, especially with the MLB The Show thing, where everybody's like, oh, I don't have to pay $70. Well, I'm not paying $70.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if I get in a service, it's the same thing. You see it all over the place. Like, not everybody's going to be willing to fork over $70. And granted, physical will still be here, but having the option to, different options to get into these games, especially in this particular time, doesn't hurt the situation. It would actually improve the situation. And, you know, I'm seeing articles, guys are telling me like, oh, it's going to improve the revenue. Well, of course, you're paying double for essentially less.
Yeah.
So of course it's going to increase the revenue. But again, PlayStation Now needs to go through a lot more changes for this to be viable, in my honest opinion. Everything needs to be downloadable, right? It needs to have, I guess, performance updates if they can, like they did with Microsoft over there. Really make it worthwhile. $120 a year? Come on. Makes no sense.
Yeah, you know, that's one of the things that I would have called for. I think if it would have been available, they would have said something. That it's not going to have frame rate upgrades. It's not gonna have graphical upgrades like you do get with games that are specifically, you know, fixed to look better and play. I mean, we've seen it with something like Fuse and Frenzy. That was a launch title in 2001. That game looks phenomenal. That game actually looks phenomenal now in 2022. It's bonkers. So I mean, listen, it's their service. Jim Ryan has already come out and said in an interview with GI.biz that the day and date thing is not something they've done in the past, and it's not something that they plan to do with you know, moving forward. But he did leave himself some wiggle room where he did said, you know, things change, you know, the scope of business changes. So do I see them doing it anytime soon? No, I do not.
He'll slowly dip his way into like
they'll dip the toe in
else.
there.
Yeah, you're gonna see a game in there. They already kind of gave you an extent of what they were willing to do with the Gran Turismo thing.
Yeah,
we already know how bad Gran Turismo's like controversy was, so they took the L there, but they know where they can't go next time, right? When they do that game. And again, we have 10 games as a service games as well. A lot of people are forgetting about that. A lot of these games are probably going to have free to play type of modules in there, whether it be multiplayer, right? And you're paying for single player, they're going to have something. They're going to do a lot of stuff to get into it. But as far as the subscription goes, yeah, I expect like a second second update to this sometime, and they'll remedy a lot of the stuff, the bumps.
We'll see some adjustments made for sure. There's no doubt about it. They're gonna take some public opinions. I mean, again, Sony is they're going to have to make some adjustments to it. They may not want to, but they're certainly going to have to, because obviously this service, again, it's a nostalgic like service because they are giving you the ability to play PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you get to play all the games. That's great, but there are also some behind the scenes things that need fixing. Pricing is I think way off, and I say that when you compare one to the other. And I know some people are gonna, people have been defending this. Oh, wait, you can't compare one to the other. Yes, you can. You absolutely can.
You really can.
Because one is giving you day and date for $15 a month, and one is giving you old games, which, if I remember, a big talking point with a lot of the PlayStation community in the past couple of years is Xbox has no games. All we do is have old. Who wants to play old games? And that comes from the head of the table and Jim Ryan. So, be careful what you put out there, because people are looking to pull receipts. And all the service is playing old games. Not saying you're not going to get new ones, because I'm sure there's going to be some new ones. Returnal, which is 13 months old now, is one of the first newer games that's going to be a part of the service. But I am going to say that I feel that MLB The Show coming out for Xbox Game Pass day and date, right? This, to me, is a miss for Sony in a way where if they would have had their service ready to go, and they wanted to compete, and they wanted to be, grab a great headline, say, hey, listen, not every game is going to be in there, but we're dropping MLB The Show right into the service, and you would have seen a bunch of people flock to it, and they would have been like okay with it because it's a new game in the new service. But they're not launching the service until June, which again makes me scratch my head as to why they even announced it in the first place. Like, what forced them to announce this months before it's available when you have a game like MLB The Show, which is a first-party game, that would have been such a great story. Hey, it's in Game Pass, but if you are a PlayStation owner, don't worry, we got you covered because the standard edition is in here. Now, I would hope that they wouldn't charge you the $10 to upgrade it to your PlayStation 5. It's Sony. They might. I don't
Dude,
know.
they already got away with it. You give
Yeah,
them an
so
inch, guess what? They're gonna go a mile. It's just that simple.
Big shout out to Smokey in the chat. Sorry I didn't welcome you in, brother. I just saw you in there. He says, have a good weekend, everyone. Can't stay until the end. No problem, Smokey. You can catch us on the replay, but thanks for being here as always. Okay, so I want to move on to the last topic, and just a bit. Do me a favor, brother. Just take a look at the private chat real quick because I threw something in there. I just want to grab your opinion on it as I jump into the last story, and make sure you're okay. The last story of the day, and
in the private chat.
Yeah, in the private chat, it's regarding the chart that IGN dropped that a lot of people had. It was a big controversy. You know, the sales chart.
StreamYard private.
Yes.
Let me see.
Yeah, it's one of the last comments I made. It's like right there. Just to give you the heads up. Well, look, anyway,
the one with the tiers for Plus, Game Pass, and Switch.
Yes, we're going to talk about that because I got a lot of DMs from people asking whether or not it's funny. I had polled actually the guys on the panel whether or not, because I'm not a petty dude. Like, everyone's entitled to their opinion. People do things for different reasons, and I get IGN is a big conglomerate. They're a big business, and they have to generate traffic to their site. I'm not a boob. Right, I get it, but one of the big controversies that came out of this chart that IGN did, and I want to preface it by saying they did it. Don't go after people online because that's the wrong way to do things. Be objective about a conversation. If you have a distaste for something someone did, go and put it on socials, but don't use curses, don't use threats, don't do any of that stuff. We're not going to do that here. The big controversy, and I'm not going to pull up the chart because it's gonna get in front of the gameplay. This has been going on for the last 2 days. The chart very simply depicted all three services and what they had and what they didn't have. Right? Again, I have it in front of me. And the way it's broken down is it's IGN, which obviously made the chart. It's PlayStation Plus, Xbox Game Pass, and the Switch Online, right? And they have tiers, price per month, price per year, family plan, additional perks, access to older games, game trials, exclusive discount, and cloud saves. Now, you've heard me talk about cloud saves. Both Sony and Nintendo should be ashamed of themselves. Locking cloud saves in 2022 behind a paywall is gross. That's it. It's gross. It's unacceptable. Mm-hmm. It's the only reason why I have PlayStation Plus. I don't care about the free games. Every now and again, I'll put something in there that I don't own, but it's for the cloud saves because Sony doesn't give you a way to transfer your saves to a memory stick unless your console is jailbroken, which I heard is could be done for the PlayStation Pro. You can jailbreak it, and you can move your saves to a stick. I'm not jailbreaking my PlayStation 5 because I don't want it to break. So I have to pay for this crap. But in this chart, there is one major thing that was left out. Now, is it an accident? Is it on purpose to generate conversation? Is it not wanting to offend where your bread is being buttered? Well, that's the debate that we're going to have, and I want to go first to Dreadpool on this. Dread, you and I had a great conversation, and you were pretty froggy about this. The most important aspect of this chart, and I think it is the de facto aspect of this chart, is somehow or another in all of these incredible tiers that were put out there was the fact that day and date is not a part of the conversation. Now, you ask yourself, is that the most important part? You're damn right it is, because it is what separates Microsoft from everyone else. Their games, day and date, in there for no extra charge. You pay your $15 a month, you pay your $5 on PC, you pay your $10 on console, or you pay your $15 for Ultimate. You get day and date games. That is the most important part of the conversation. In fact, I would dare say it is the most important part of the conversation, because day and date first party games is what I wanted from Sony. That's why this whole Sony thing annoyed me, because I've been a part of PlayStation Plus since its inception, and I've always been calling for day and date. I think it is important because their games are $70. And listen, if you want to charge me double that per year for day and date, I'll pay it. I'll give you $140 because I know I'm going to get at least 4. I know I'm getting at least 4 for first party games from Sony. There's your money. That's $280. So if I spend half of that, then I won, right? Why don't you reiterate what you were talking about, Dredd, regarding this important aspect being left out of this graphic that comes to us from IGN?
You know, it's funny because I talk about this a lot, apparently, and this falls right into it, with deceptive practices. XL, right? So this is basically an Excel file that's manipulated, right? You leave certain things out, and certain things look better now. So leaving day and date out kind of makes it look better, that they're more equal, more on par.
They definitely look a little bit more equal, indeed.
Right?
Indeed, yeah.
So, but you go through, and yeah, we talked about Family Plan. Granted, Xbox just announced, or they haven't announced, it leaked. So there is a no for Xbox, right? So that makes sense. It's perfect,
Right.
PlayStation doesn't have it, Xbox doesn't have it, Nintendo has whatever you want to call a Family Plan. If you even call any of their service anything,
And their Family Plan is
anything.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Garbage.
So when you look at their tiers, you got the 3 tiers on the one, you got Xbox with their tiers, and you got Nintendo with their tier and a tier and a half, you would call it, right? But as you go through and you're looking down, they all roughly about the same. But with that one tier that I said, that one file that you pull out of the Excel spreadsheet, where it's just day and date, that could alter your perception as to which one you want. Boom, you're talking about, hey, I want to do day and date on PlayStation because $70, right? A lot of people are saying the same thing.
Yep.
$70 is making a difference. But if I had this plan and they did the same thing as Xbox is doing, why not? It would entice you to definitely play there more often, and it's a big miss for Major League Baseball, for that service to not be there up and running, well, not a big miss for Major League Baseball, but because of the game is missing from this service, because, where's everybody going? Everybody last year, not everybody, but for the most part, a lot of people went to the Game Pass route. They're like, you know what? I'm not a baseball player, but I'm not paying for it. And there's other people that are saying, hey, you know what? It's finally coming to Xbox, but I don't have to pay for it because it's part of my plan. So there was a big influx of people playing this game on the Xbox side. How do you combat that, right? What does Sony usually do? They usually make their games a year's exclusive to their side. This would have been perfect, that they didn't have to pay anything extra for other than to have it in their service, had the service been ready. And then you look at the older games. Nobody plays old games, but yet we have PS1, PS2, PSP, PS3, PS4, depending on the tier, right? But you can only stream them, which we already know that their services hasn't been great with streaming. Streaming is still relatively in its infancy. It's doing better on the Xbox side, but it's not where it should be. It's not
like
where they
game
want it
changing.
to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So why do I have to stream this game if I already own the game, right? If I have Siphon Filter Why should I have to sit there and stream it when I could just pop it in there and play? Why isn't that option like it is on Xbox? Why aren't there certain options like that you're excluded from? You know, if I've got this game, give me that access to those games. You know, how many they have a huge library on the PS2. You know, that's probably the biggest library of games on a console that I'm aware of, is on the PS2. So when you look at it, it would be great to make those BC. I don't care if it doesn't have the added support of faster FPS or the fidelities enhanced with the checkerboarding or any of that stuff. I don't care. Just let those games play, even as is, you know. But you're gonna lock them behind the highest tier for those games, and I like how it says depending on tier. Well, those BC games are on the highest
we
tier.
know damn well that they're gonna really push the high premium.
Well, yeah,
No
but
doubt about it.
you know,
Yeah.
and it's I forgot what it was, like 230 or 320 something games that were
That's for
extra.
the 120 and the extra. The other
Right,
one
for
was
the extra.
was 100. Yeah,
Right, and that's those are the older games. You don't have that on the lower tier. Why?
Mhm.
Why not make it accessible? You know what I mean? It's not like it's that big of a deal if you're going to be able to do this. They have in the schematics, when before they even released the PlayStation 5, they had the schematics. You pop in this disc, it reads to say, "Hey, what system are you?" And it says, "Hey, I belong to a PlayStation." And then the PS5 converts over to a PlayStation and plays that game. What happened to that? That was in the schematics in there in those blueprints. Why are we still doing this? You know, it's weird that we're still, let's say it right. It's close enough in the East Coast. Why are we half-assing this? You know, this is not this.
So
PlayStation needs to
we
do their
vouch
own
for
thing,
yeah.
but they
So
are
we vouch
definitely
for it.
behind.
Yeah.
They're still playing catch up again, and
Mhm.
you know, they don't need to play catch up. They need to be a leader, and not leader in how can we gouge money out of you. Let's be a leader on how do we get these games to more people? How do we get this? Because being in a service or not in a service is not going to devalue the game. Because if it is, why did they go with Bungie to figure out how to make games as a service games? Right? Isn't that the whole point of Bungie, was to get their expertise with gas? But we don't want to put our games in the service that is our own service. You know, there's a lot of misinformation here, and for IGN, sorry, but you know what I'm saying, IGN to also leave this information out. It's kind of
It
wishy-washy.
just seems a little suspicious, as if they're trying to herd the conversation another way,
Hmm.
and that's the real crux of the issue. Again, you spend all this time making this, which I think is a pretty damn good chart. It does break down a lot, but when you leave specific, very important information to the conversation, that's like you going to trial and you leaving out a monster piece of evidence to the conversation. Some would suggest that that is done on purpose. I can't say that it was, but I think that if you spend all this time putting all of this work into this, because a lot of work went into it, you can't argue that there's a lot of information here. With all of that said, the biggest part of the conversation that neither Nintendo or Sony has is day and date, and I think that that is it's the de facto part of the conversation. Crispy, let's get your opinion on this, brother. You have a lot to say. You've been back and forth with this on social media. Where do you fall on whether or not this is done on purpose to drive clicks, or do you think this is just an honest mistake?
Honest mistake. I
have to
Yeah.
ask the question.
Yeah, you know, I get like you try to show everything in like a certain light, and obviously, like they're probably like, well, duh, Xbox has day and date. You should all know this. Like, I mean, what are you gonna say to that? Like, you're a huge publication. You have you have a responsibility, in my opinion, to some of these casuals that have no clue about these services, to give them information. Okay, because they're going to be looking to your site more than to Breakfast with Boom or, Colt's channel or Bit's channel. You know what I'm saying? You have that responsibility, and you're leaving out the most important part. And keep in mind, all I saw was this is the Game Pass killer. So, yeah, well, now we're not going to compare it. Now we're not going to compare it fairly either. And, IGN's kind of helping with this a little bit. I mean, okay, maybe it was an accident. Come on. Okay, come on. Besides that, I don't understand, why they didn't just do like a $25 tier and make them day and date. People would absolutely go into that.
Yeah.
Or this higher tier, the $18. Why didn't you put a year of Crunchyroll in there? Why didn't
or
you
Funimation or
I'm surprised
or-
Crunchyroll was not mentioned at all.
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like what
Yeah.
they
Whatever
did,
happened to that?
they did the bare minimum, and they're charging more than Game Pass Ultimate. Anybody that's defending this needs to check themselves and realize that there's nothing to defend. You're literally, they killed all your narratives. They're touting old games when you don't play old games.
Yeah.
So, my God, if I brought out all the receipts I got from like a year or 2 years ago,
Oof.
I mean, people would be wrecked.
They
would have no,
would be broken.
yeah. That being said, I'm not, I bring them out when you deserve it, and you come at me and you act like you never said it. That's fine. Most people don't make that mistake. But what I'm saying is you gotta relax. I mean, Twitter is a social media platform. This is not a cult following type thing. Like, it has become that. I'm seeing it. And IGN, I'm sorry, you kind of are feeding into it. You know what I mean? And it's getting sad. Like, I expect more, and by all means, please revise it. So, the casual game, IGN, that's gaming. Yeah, let me check that out. Oh, I want to learn about this, subscriptions. PlayStation, yeah, they have those great exclusives. But you're not getting anything day and date, and we're not even going to acknowledge that. I mean, come on. So it's just, I say revise it, please. That's what I say.
I agree. I think they could easily just drop a revised one in there, fix the issue. No one would have a problem with it, because at that point, now you're being forthcoming with, hey, we got it wrong. Like we left out something. Here's the fixed one. Real quick, we had a couple of super chats come in from Raiden Blade. Let me just find the first one. This one, he says, he drops a £2 super chat and says, Sony is all about double and triple dipping fans. Yeah, unfortunately, they do that, man. And like I said earlier, they had such an incredible opportunity, because one of the biggest complaints, and you get that from me, is if you look at what Xbox does with smart delivery, if an older game gets a newer update, all you gotta do is just download it. You put you start the game and then say a better version is available. Really? Press A and download, and that's it. And that's as easy as it is. Not so much for Sony. Sony charges you, hey, if you want the upgrade, it's $10. This new service could have easily said, hey, one of the advantages to being a premium member is free $10 upgrades. And again, is it the greatest thing? No, but at least it would have been something. Crunchyroll, Funimation, a free Spider-Man movie or Sony film, per month in there. There could have been a lot. And I think Crispy really hit the nail on the head, so to speak. Folks, one gives you day and date first party games that for $15, and the other one is charging you $18 for older games. There's just no comparison. But let's bring in Fuzzy Belvedere on this conversation. You saw the chart.
Yeah.
And again, I agree. I with Crispy. I think they should revise it and say, hey, listen, yeah, we did get it wrong. We forgot the day and date. It is important. You can't just assume everyone knows Microsoft's day and date, and you get that but duh moment. You just, because the casuals, they may not even know that. And if a normie is looking at this list, they're gonna be like, wow, that PlayStation the services, that's actually really good because I love PlayStation back in the days when they're leaving an important part of the conversation. Now, what are your thoughts on that, Fuzzy?
Well, originally I kind of gave them the benefit of the doubt, but seeing how they have the breakout for cloud saves and they do go into a little bit more detail that the subscription is not required on Xbox to, have those, the day and date category should have been listed, especially considering they have game trials. I mean, yeah, if you have Ultimate, you get game trials with EA, but what's better than game trials than the actual new games? But yeah, it's a missed opportunity. They're a big conglomerate. I can kind of understand why, especially if they're taking advertising dollars from Sony and taking advertising dollars from Nintendo and Xbox on occasion. So it's like I can kind of understand, but in all honesty, I think a revision is probably something, especially now that the family plan is being hinted and hopefully will be live in the next couple of months. I think that's definitely something that they should look at as possibly revisiting this chart and updating it as more features come along, and maybe that will be more fuel to the fire to kind of push Sony to add something like Crunchyroll, which it is kind of a missed opportunity. They have that company that they own or that property. Why not make your subscription that much more enticing? Like I don't mean to badmouth Sony, but it's one of those things when you look back at how they removed movies from their online store because, well, I guess nobody was really buying them on the consoles, but they also had, what was it, Sony View, which was like their cable competitor, and that didn't do so well. I guess they weren't the best at negotiating, some of the deals with some of these, studios that eventually wanted to have their own, subscription service. But with that being said, they missed having something like that as a draw. So anything, if anything, they should have learned from some of their missteps in that to make your subscription as enticing as possible to draw not just your current fan base or your current customer base, but new people into the ecosystem. Because I'm pretty sure if you look at the big picture, 100 million plus, PlayStation sell or PS4 sell, and you got about 40 or 50 million, PS Plus subscribers. Why not really push to have all of those that sold? Although I understand a lot of them are multi-console households like my own, but still, you would push a lot more people that may not necessarily buy PS Plus because, well, I don't play online games or there's no need for it. I buy the game I want and I play it, and then there's no need for these free games that either they already had or don't want to bother with type of thing. So all the enticement, especially on your announcement launch, especially considering that there is a competitor that it's gaining steam in that space, why not just not go balls to the wall type of deal, which I can understand the whole day and date deal, but yeah, they should have added more on their end to entice more people. But once again, IGN, hopefully they'll consider revising this, especially after the actual subscription service is released fully in, I guess, June and whatnot. That's all I got.
No, great stuff. Rated Blade drops an additional £5 super chat and says IGN, Digital Foundry don't want to put Sony in a bad light in fear of being blacklisted. I also noticed that no one is mentioning Xbox Live Gold with 100 million subs. Yeah, I mean, I didn't see that story, brother, so that's why we're not talking about it. And I think eventually I think they're gonna get rid of gold personally. I think they should. I think that would really put the screws to everyone if they just had Game Pass Ultimate and they made online play free. Oh my God, that would really put Sony's heels to the fire.
If you want to really put fire in, I would do that.
That would be something. That would be a very drastic, but man, that's a headline grabber for sure. JC Colomaro drops a $2 super chat and says upgrade for Final Fantasy VII Remake is $20. I did not know that. I got it for free because I already had it. I didn't know they were charging $20 for it. Before we bring in BitCloud to close us out, Web Dave, what are your opinions on the chart, man? I mean, where do you feel? Is this a mistake? And do you feel that IGN should make the correction?
I definitely feel like it was intentional.
I mean, we're
But
talking about it, so it's working.
right. I know that like I'm lost my train of thought. Sorry. So Xbox, like when I had the Xbox Gold and then I upgraded to Game Pass, I had like a year of Gold and it bumped me
They
up
upgrade you
even
for
with just
free.
a 1 month.
Yeah,
Exactly, a free
the
upgrade,
whole thing for free, up
which
to the highest tier.
I have over 2 years of Sony, PlayStation Plus now, because I got it, holiday sales and stuff, Black Friday deals. I doubt that they're going to roll it up to whatever
No,
next year.
you're
No.
considered essential.
Yeah,
You're not the highest tier. You're considered
shame in it.
essential.
Yeah, but and then if I wanted to upgrade, how much is that going to cost me? You know what I mean? How are they going to figure what I've already got established into that? Well, those are the questions we'll have to have too. I know that April of last year, I was looking this up, that Sony was testing PlayStation Plus Video Pass in certain markets where they were actually releasing like 10 Sony movies, including at the time when they were testing it, they had like Spider-Man the movie and things like that to add value to their PlayStation Plus. And I don't know if that was a failure or if it wasn't, if it's, but like you're talking about Crunchyroll, but if they included some of their movies in it, maybe that would help. But but they're not, and I don't know. I just I think that it's not where it needs to be, and hopefully, because they say the final details are coming out. This is just kind of their first presentation, and it may have been they may just kind of throw this out there and it's like, oh, let's see what sticks, let's see what happens, let's see where we have to backtrack, and let's see where we have to tweak things. Because they don't, like I said, they don't have all the final things in place. But we'll see. I'm hoping for the best. But I got Game Pass and day and date, then I'm pretty happy with that. So there you go.
Yeah, no, good stuff. Big Cloud, I kind of want to change the question for you specifically. You talked earlier about revisions, and this might be kind of them dipping their toes. Do you think that fan feedback, and again, I'm not talking about the toxic MFs of the community, because we don't want to talk about them, because but also all sides have them, and they ruin the soup, so to speak. We're talking about the actual people that play games on the platform that they enjoy. So specifically, PlayStation fans, not toxic MFs, but actual PlayStation fans who like trophies, like yourself, and platinum stuff, because this is the platform they enjoy. They've come out and said, this is not a good deal, right? How long do you think Sony sits on this before we see a revision of sorts?
I mean, obviously, until the next plan is revealed for Microsoft. When that heat hits them, you gotta address it in some particular capacity. Now, they were to do something like you just said earlier, where they got rid of gold requirement. I mean,
that would be,
what I mean? Like, there's just no,
wow.
There's no ifs or buts about it. You have to do something type of thing right there. But are they going to do it? That's the question.
Yeah.
But in terms of like changing the situation, like I'm surprised. I'm glad Chris, you brought up Crunchyroll. I forgot all about Crunchyroll. Why wasn't Crunchyroll thrown in?
I actually thought that was going to be like their highlight thing, because look, anime for me at 51 years old isn't as important to me as it was when I was a kid with my brother. We were into Macross, we were into Guyver, we were into Fist of the North, things of those natures. That anime for us back then. But I would not say that adding Crunchyroll or Funimation, which Sony owns both of them, to this would not have been a good deal.
Yeah. And looking at it again, Crunchyroll's not on it. It's like, well, then what exactly are you going to be adding later on? Because they did say more perks are coming.
They did say some stuff was coming, yeah.
So maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know. But again, it's like, it's best you show everything off when you're ready, as opposed to just going, here's the bare minimum for double the money. It doesn't look good on either particular account. Now, of course, you're gonna have the dudes that's gonna go, oh, it's fine. It's no.
We've seen it. We've seen people like, no, it's good. It's a good deal. It's a good deal.
Yeah. Okay. When the goalpost moves, all of a sudden it's a good deal at this point. I don't get it. If you can't download the entire library, it's not a good deal for me personally. I prefer to be able to download everything. And again, I'm not even asking what Microsoft's done with with the backwards and pat situation for Xbox, where you got trophy support or achievement support, and you got these improvements to performance. I'm not even asking for that. I'm talking about
You just want
basics.
you just want the
Just know it'll
catalog
play.
itself.
Right.
Yeah.
On Xbox, you can plug in an old disc, and guess what? It'll play.
Yeah, play. Yes. You don't
have that option on PlayStation.
Yeah, that's something else.
Ain't that weird? That's weird.
Yeah, so if I have the disc, say for instance, I have Twisted Metal Black in my right hand, and I walk over to my PlayStation 5 and I pop it in, I better duck for cover because it's could probably spit it out at me.
Or you'll get that message. Sorry, wrong disc.
Wrong disc. This is not read on this. Yeah, you're 100% right. Listen, folks, that's your 2-hour show. Happy April Fool's Day. No tricks here. Hopefully you had a great time like I did. We had over 350 people here hanging out on a Friday morning talking about gaming. We got to 4 topics, which with a panel this stout, it's pretty hard to do, and we were able to pull it off. I'm very happy that we had this many people here. Of course, I want to wish everyone a great weekend, a safe weekend. Enjoy gaming. Of course, I'm going back to Elden Ring as soon as I'm done. 137 hours in, level 230. And there are 2 bosses that just keep whooping my ass cowboy style. General Nal. Man, that guy is a real MF.
Wow. Which part? In the Frozen?
Yes, where he has the 2 knights with him. See, if you didn't have the 2 knights, it wouldn't be so bad. But you got to take down these 2 big knights first, and you got to take. He's a real MF. But I'll best him for sure. Listen, let's get to the outros. We'll start first with Dreadpool, brother. Sell your brand. Tell everyone about Breaking Bread with Dread, and where can people reach out to you on social media?
Yes, as always, thank you everybody here that's in the panel. It's always great, hanging out with you guys on Friday, talking, shooting a stuff that we can't really say. But as always, the chat, you guys are awesome.
Yep.
So thank you. But you can find me. Oh, well, actually, I just heard. I don't know how long you're going to be able to find me on Gaming Beyond the Box on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. But apparently, there's a rumor going on that Xbox is buying Sony, Nintendo, and Gaming Beyond the Box all one swoop. That's what I just heard.
So you're saying that Wilmy Hood is even going to be more loaded?
That's what I'm hearing. So we're probably going to get traded out.
So will it be included in PlayStation Plus? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Well, you never know.
There you go.
That's. I think that's why they're like negotiating right now, right? So definitely, as you heard, Game Beyond the Box, Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. You can find me at linktree.com/Dreadpool, all letters, all caps. It's got all the links to everything we have. My YouTube is Dreadpool, all letters, all caps. The Twitter is Dreadpool with 0s instead of O's. And then you can find Breaking Bread with Dread on Anchor.fm, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon, and a few 100 other places. So again, thank you all. And every Friday here, Breakfast with Boom, 10 a.m.
Definitely appreciate you being here. Crispy Bomb, by all means, brother, where could people reach out to you on social media? And what other shows are you a panel member a part of?
Shout out to the chat. Shout out to you, gentlemen. Just want to say you can actually call out the gaming company you like. We got those Twitter shares back. So I'm just saying, you guys could really, step your game up and say, hey, I don't like this. It does work sometimes. Just saying. At Crispy Bomb on Twitter, Crispy Bomb 28, Xbox Live. You can find me on Retro Renegade, 7 p.m. Tuesday nights. The next podcast, Thursday, 8 p.m. And, of course, back here on Breakfast with Boom, Friday, 10 a.m.
And every now and again, a special podcast that happens during the week because of breaking news, you'll jump on as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Fuzzy Bubba, sell your brand, brother. Tell everyone about your incredible YouTube channel and where could people reach out to you and strike up a conversation on social media.
Well, just want to say, so awesome being on here with you guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
for
we love having
me.
you, brother. Love the hot takes.
Thank everyone from joining us tonight, and everybody in the chat. You guys are awesome. So greatly appreciate all the viewership and everything. And make sure you smash that like button today. For any of those that want to hear my rambling on anything racing related or any games in general, just follow me on Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere or find me on YouTube at Fuzzy_Belvedere. probably doing some sort of racing related video.
Hey, listen, that's your forte, brother, and you got to go with your strong points for sure. Web Dave, you got an interview with Dreadpool coming up this weekend, but who have you interviewed? Where can people check out these incredible one-on-ones, and where can people reach out to you on social media?
Thank you, Boom. Appreciate that. And man, love the chat. Absolutely love everybody in there. Lots of great people showing up and comments that feed the show. We need you here. And we appreciate every time you come on. So also, it's outbreakpodcast.com is the website. It's Outbreak Podcast on YouTube. I have this week's episode that dropped on Wednesday was Fuzzy Belvedere, the one, the only. That's right. Fuzzy, find out the facts, the grit. And next Wednesday, Crispy Bomb is going to be on. And let me tell you, we get into gaming heavy. He gets on some awesome rants. I'm telling you, dude. And if you want to know some really great tips on the best cut of steak to get, tune into the show because we dig deep in cut. And like I said, I got Dreadpool coming up. He'll be interviewed this weekend. He's coming up in a couple of weeks. Next week, I've got Eric Cutts for the win. She is awesome. Definitely don't miss any of these shows, man. And hopefully I'll get I know he's been busy, but hopefully I'll be able to get Bit Cloud on for an interview here before long. So I'll reach out to him.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Well, yeah, thank you. And speaking of Bit, I got to congratulate you, brother. Saw your post the other day. You continue to grow as a content creator. I couldn't be more proud of the work that you do on a regular basis. You've been obviously working with IGN. You've been working with a bunch of other people. You made it a public announcement. By all means, sell what you got going on. Where could people check out your YouTube channel, and where could people strike up a conversation on social media?
Absolutely. Good to be back on the show. Sorry, I was late. Actually, I had to sleep for some reason. I don't know why I couldn't get up. But yesterday, basically it went live. Technically, it's 2 interviews, but one went up. I was interviewed by vidIQ.
Yes.
And they were highlighting small creators. And I love the title. It was small creators that made a big impact. So
I love it.
That was,
and you have
awesome.
made a big impact, brother. So you're doing the work. You're putting the work in.
Thank you. So that was awesome. I got my my YouTube career was pretty much highlighted for a little bit. If you guys want to check that out, I actually have it in my on my YouTube channel, Big Cloud Gaming. It's in the description and everything there, but it's also on my Twitter. I shared it around. I'm seeing some funny reactions towards it too, but I'll tell you guys off here. But that's what happened there. Obviously, IGN as a freelancer, that's what I do on the side. Got approved for PAX East, but I don't know about
nice, dude. PAX East is if you've never been there, dude. I've been to 3.
Yeah,
what a great show, man. The Iron Lords are going there this year. I was gonna.
I told the counter about it. He's like hyped to go. I'm like, I want to go.
It's a great show, man. Great fan show. Yeah,
you gonna make it? You gonna try?
Nah, not this year, brother. I'm.
It's too much right now.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm still walking the razor's edge with this COVID thing. Maybe next year I'll feel a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, no, that's true. We have the RGT podcast. I host every Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And speaking of that, I got to shout these guys up because they came on my neck a couple of days ago. Shout out to Mono, the good folks over there for sponsoring the channel.
Very nice.
And the podcast. So I look forward to testing all that out today.
Nice.
And if you guys find me at Big Cloud Gaming, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, that's where I'll be at. Uploading my thoughts on the latest gaming topics news. Just dropped the video yesterday. If you guys want to check that out, by all means, check it out to my channel.
Yep, absolutely. And one real quick thing, a bit of personal triumph. This particular Monday is going to be a very special Monday because Double Barrel Gaming's Primetime Gaming has teamed up with Colt Eastwood. Colt Eastwood is going to be on on my show for the first 90 minutes and only a 90-minute show, and then we're going to transition over myself and the Mag. Middle-aged game guy over to Colt's channel on YouTube. It is the first of many 2-channel collaborations that we're going to be doing. About a month ago, Colt had reached out to me and said, hey, listen, I met Colt in real life. I met him and his wife, and they're great people back at E3 2019. Obviously, we just haven't talked in a minute because, we're both incredibly busy. And he said, hey, listen, I'd love to be on your show, but I'd love to get you on my show. Can we make it work? So I said, yeah, absolutely, we can make it work. So it's going to be a total of 3 hours of podcasting. The first 90 minutes on my channel, the next 90 minutes on Colt's channel, and topics we're working on right now. Nothing super secret because, the news is going to be the news. But this Monday, Colt Eastwood coming to Xbox. Coming to Double Barrel Gaming's chat and hanging out with us on Primetime Gaming. And then, of course, we're going to transition over to his channel and be on his show, which I cannot wait for. Tune in. The show is starting half an hour early, 6:30 to 8 on my channel, and from 8 to 9:30 on his. And hopefully you enjoy what we'll be putting down. And of course, I want to thank all the super chats that come in that continue to power the show and its giveaways. And of course, I'll close out the show with something that's important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught me with kids. And he said, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules. And I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. Have an awesome weekend. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.